tell us about what's happening with the Olympics, live on demand, and also the whole live environment, how it's developing.
Sure. So one of the nice things about the Olympics is that it's truly a global event, and I think sometimes we lose sight of that here in the U.S. But one of the things that's been exciting for us is in the partnerships that we have with people like the BBC in the UK or ZDF in Germany or even CCTV in China. You know, many of these organizations, we saw great traction with Beijing Olympics, and we're excited to continue to work with them on the Winter Olympics. You know, while I don't get to see most of that content because it's geo-blocked, thanks to the IOC. You know, what we do see, though, is an increase in audiences in all of the geos. And I think that sort of what we're seeing is, you know, across the board, increasingly, audiences are turning to the web to consume live events. And I think the Olympics is just another reflection of that. You know, and to Bismarck's comment earlier, you know, we've also seen huge success with this, you know, not only with our relationship with people like the MLB and other sporting networks, but, you know, with the Amgen Tour of California, we saw a huge spike there in terms of what we were able to do for cycling in an event that typically wouldn't have, you know, wouldn't have necessarily hit the radar, or many of the audience probably wouldn't have been able to consume the content. I think live is a great use case, and it's a great proof point for video and video functionality, video capabilities, because it's it really is it pushes the envelope in terms of what the technology has to be able to do. The immediate ability to capture, to transcode, to deliver. Bismarck can tell you in spades all of these things that people struggle with, and to get that consistent quality as the audiences spike and CDNs deal with different loads. And but, you know, the other nice thing about live content for almost everyone around this table who's struggling with fragmented audiences and sort of what happens with time shifting and trying to get an ad buy on something that, you know, as a VOD, you know, might get 4 views is, you know, live events are like Cadbury Easter eggs, right? When Easter's gone, they're gone. And when live events are gone, the value of the live event is gone as well. And so they really, for people who are looking to create revenue online, if you can create enough traction behind the live event, it's a really interesting business opportunity.
Well, I think live works for some for events like the inauguration, sporting events, and others, and it becomes a great platform potentially for social because you all feel like, you know, you've broken the distance among people where you can actually socialize with other people like you're next to each other. But when we look at the numbers and usage model, I think people still prefer an on-demand model outside of some of the events and sports because it's just from a consumer standpoint, there's, you know, you can't compensate for convenience.
Like with the Grammys, you don't you had it on the broadcast but not on the web.
Yeah, that was more due to rights more than anything else. I would kind of classify that as an event that you would want everyone to sit next to. But, you know, for instance, for one of our shows like CSI or something like that, we probably would not see that as an event where everyone's going to be watching at the same time online. Now, if you're talking about the finale, the final episode of The Amazing Race, that is something that could potentially be a platform for being live. But I don't think you can just say everything will work in that format.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Andy, you know what? I think when you look at live, you've got to think, why are you doing it live? And there are reasons to do it live from a production perspective and from a viewership perspective. So, you know, from a production perspective, what we find is that, you know, people will watch live if there's news value, if it's a sporting event, if there's danger. I mean, if you have a host who's, you know, likely to go off and turn into a complete nut job, you know, that's why we listen to talk radio, right? But also, as we do shows that are more involved with hosts that are experts on what they talk about and passionate and centers of communities, but didn't grow up with an education of being able to, you know, read a teleprompter and have people put voices in their heads and still be able to make sense of it. You know, live actually makes a better performance as well for some of these people. It's kind of a clenching of the stuff that makes it better. But from a audience perspective, what we find is that, you know, we do stuff at E3 or CES. That's great, and people want to be part of that. But we do shows live, like our gaming show, Co-op, is now live. You can sit and watch it, and I've done shows like this before, but it is a great on-demand experience as well. What we find is that we had 5% of the audience will watch it live. They want to be part of that interactive community. They are your biggest fans, and that live can bind your biggest fans to you even deeper, and you can energize them and turn them into the sort of Sherlock Holmes irregulars that will go out and proselytize your show and what you do to all these other people. But don't overlook the fact that live is, in many cases, only going to be 5% of your overall audience. I mean, how many people are watching live right now?
Thousands. Huge.
But
No.
I bet this show will reach hundreds of thousands eventually.
Well,
and
yeah.
live makes it a great experience, and we're all, we're all better
Kara's
live.
here. That's why she's here. We're driving a lot of views.
Wrong.
But what's the story, Kara, with your point of view on live and all things
we did
D
a live
and
event, and it was really great content, but hard, it was beautiful, too. It was really lovely. We did a nice thing. I got John Rubenstein to say he'd never touched an iPhone. Good TV. But in Las Vegas at CES, and it was very negligible in terms of live use. Well, it was on a Friday in the afternoon and stuff like that, and we're not the hugest site in the world. So, but there's very few things.
You're not going to do live at
well,
all things D.
We're thinking of some things, depending on certain people we might have there that might be of interest to people. But James Cameron's coming. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe people are sick of James Cameron's by then. I don't know. We don't know. We'll have to decide. It depends on. We have some others that people might want to see live, but I don't know if they want to be seen live. So, I don't know. I don't know. We think about it. We think about streaming. The journal, the Dow Jones people certainly want us to stream. They see it as some small little pot of gold, but
Sure.
I don't.
They can sell it.
If they can sell a
They can sell it,
sponsorship.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I don't have to see something right away, but maybe some people have the immediate. Nothing I make is something people need to see immediately, except for that silly video of Walt and Steve Jobs, which
Oh,
went
Jesus,
nuts.
that was huge.
But not everybody can go to all things D. I mean, it's a very
No, they can't.
It is. And
Such
that's
is huge.
but that's part of the value of it, right?
I got my
people
press
who-
pass.
Yeah.
People who can't go, or or they are in a different part of the world, they may want to be.
No,
part of
we
that
do. We think about
experience.
streaming some of it, but there's rights issues. There's I don't think this is a case of that we'll see a fall off in people going because we have a large wait list. But you could think that's something you think about, like if you can pay $500, whatever, I don't know where the price is. Sure, we could stream some of it, but I think part of the value of an event like that is people want to be there so they can rub shoulders with people.
That's true. The other thing that's emerging, that
Or say stalk people like Owen Thomas,
yeah.
who is the world's worst stalker, by the way.
There he is. Watch out.
Yeah, no, you did not, or else you would have done a better job.
I think the one thing that's really interesting about live, from a large media company perspective, and I was talking about this with Daisy and some other folks earlier, is the ability. You got a single channel, and I used this example before, which is Big Ten Network. They're broadcasting one game at one time, but we have the rights to 10 other games that are going on. And I'm a passionate, college basketball fan. And I'm now getting offered the opportunity to watch an event that I wouldn't normally be able to watch. So I think as media companies take, again, these rights that they weren't exploiting and now saying, hey, we can exploit it, we have new platforms to put it on, I think it's a great opportunity for the consumer and for fans, and while they may be niche communities, these passionate communities to get more content.
Yeah, and what's happening, too, is that some of this web video, a live web video service companies like Justin TV, Ustream, and I believe Livestream are coming up with micropayment systems. You guys are, right? Yeah. So in other words, like I'm not sure people will pay to watch this conference, but if I did an instructional video or someone who was, there's possibilities that niche quality content creators or really exclusive performances or exclusive conferences might be able to charge a certain amount. So there's ways to monetize that.
What could you possibly, I don't know what you could offer people on that. Walt helps you start a computer.
I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say. Or, it's happening in the educational area,
I guess if it was like how-to, but there's so many free how-to things on there. Like that.
Who's going to pay for live?
But it's not Walt Mossberg. I mean, you and Walt have names and value.
No one wants to see me put together a computer, but okay.
Maybe something else.
So we've seen a lot of small niche players who are actually using paid transactions for live and ballroom dancing and structural video, and I think actually that works really well. I think we all agree that sports is probably one of the areas where people are really willing to pay and have access to content that they wouldn't have access to. What we've seen in our business is that across the board, media and non-media companies are looking at, back to your point, Jim, are looking at live as a way to build brand affinity and bring people closer and tie in a lot of these social networks and social aspects of it to really build up that base. And again, corporate, non-corporate, media, non-media, they're all looking at live, and at least from what we've seen in terms of total traffic, it's becoming a pretty significant part of our business. Again, we don't just look at a single event and try to pay the bills off of that. We are able to spread it across, hundreds of individual publishers, but it is a growing trend.